My beloved child, be still with me for a moment. Not the kind of stillness that comes when life feels simple, but the deeper stillness that only wounded hearts understand. The stillness that arrives after too many nights of overthinking, too many prayers whispered through tears, too many mornings where you rose from your bed, carrying questions you could not answer. Come close now, set down the noise, let your breathing slow, let your soul stop running for just this moment, because what I am about to speak is not light, it is not shallow comfort, it is truth for the part of you that has been aching in silence. You have been asking me questions you did not even know how to say out loud. Why did it have to be this hard? Why did the waiting stretch so long that hope began to feel expensive? Why did some doors close without explanation, while doors for others seemed to open so easily? Why did people you trusted become distant? Why did the very season in which you needed clarity most seem covered in silence? Why did it feel at times as though everyone else was moving forward while you were being held in place by an invisible hand? Hear me carefully. What looked empty was not empty. What felt delayed was not forgotten. What seemed quiet was not inactive. There are seasons where I do my deepest work without announcement, without spectacle, without the kind of evidence your natural mind keeps demanding. There are seasons where I speak more through formation than explanation, more through hidden change than visible results, more through the slow shaping of your spirit than through the sudden shifting of your circumstances. And because you could not see it, you thought perhaps nothing was happening. But I was there in every breath of that hidden season. You thought the hardest part was the pain itself, but the deeper struggle was not always the circumstance around you. It was the battle unfolding inside you. It was the choice between bitterness and softness, between cynicism and trust, between performance and surrender, between numbing your heart and bringing it back to me one more time. That was the true pressure point. That was the holy place where your spirit was being tested, refined, and revealed. And though you often judged yourself only by what you felt, I was watching something far deeper than emotion. I was looking at what you chose. I saw the moments when you wanted to stop praying because silence made you feel foolish, and yet you still whispered my name. I saw the times you wanted to harden your heart so disappointment would hurt less, but instead you cried before me and remained tender. I saw the restraint in moments when revenge was available and defense was tempting. I saw you choose not to speak every angry word that pain placed on your tongue. I saw you walk away from things that would have distracted you, even when they promised immediate relief. My child, do not call those moments small. Heaven did not call them small. You have been measuring your life by outcomes, but I have been measuring your season by transformation. You have been asking, did anything change? And I tell you now, yes. More change than you realize. Some of the greatest shifts in your life happened where no one was watching. They happened in your unseen. Yes, in your hidden restraint. In your decision to return to me when your emotions gave you no reward for doing so. There is a kind of faith that sings loudly when joy is easy. But there is another kind of faith, rarer and weightier, that whispers yes in the dark. That is the faith I was drawing out of you. Do you know why I did not explain every detail while you were walking through it? Because if I had told you everything too early, you might have learned how to pass the moment without allowing the moment to change you. You might have managed behavior instead of surrendering your heart. You might have reached for appearance instead of depth. But what I wanted from that season was not polished performance. I wanted truth. I wanted the real condition of your trust, the real texture of your love, the real strength of your endurance, the places where you were maturing, and the places where you still needed healing. That is why so much of your growth happened without a map. You were not being punished. You were being uncovered. You were being shown to yourself more honestly than ever before. Not so you would despair, but so you would stop pretending. Some of you had become too used to functioning with hidden fear, hidden self-protection, hidden need for human approval, hidden grief you never fully processed. I was not humiliating you by exposing those things. I was loving you enough to refuse to let them continue ruling you. I will not bless your next season while leaving your old chains untouched. My child, some of the pain you called rejection was actually protection in a form you did not recognize. Some things were not taken from you to make you suffer. They were removed because they could not travel where I am leading you. Some relationships fell away not because you had no value, but because they were tied to an older version of you, a version that was built on proving, chasing, and surviving. Some opportunities closed not because I had no plan, but because if they had opened too soon, they would have placed weight on foundations that were still being formed. I do not open doors that crush the soul standing beneath them. You grieved what did not happen. You grieved who did not stay. You grieved what did not become what you hoped it would be. And I did not ignore that grief. I was near every time your chest tightened with disappointment. I was near every time you replayed a conversation. Every time you wondered what you did wrong. Every time you tried to act strong, while privately asking if you had somehow missed your moment. But listen carefully now. Delay is not always denial. Often it is alignment. Often it is mercy. Often it is the space in which I make sure what is coming will not break what is receiving it. Think of Joseph. If he had moved from the field straight to the palace, the gift would have arrived before the character needed to carry it. Think of David. The oil touched his head long before the throne ever held his weight. Think of Hannah. Her tears were not ignored. They were gathered into a story larger than the moment she was living in. Think of my son. Even he walked through hidden years before public revelation. I am not afraid of long preparation. I am not hurried by human clocks. I do not mistake speed for fruitfulness. What I build slowly in secret often carries the greatest durability when it is finally revealed. That is why your hidden season mattered. Roots matter more than leaves when storms come. Depth matters more than appearance when pressure rises. A foundation matters more than decoration when weight is added. And there are things you prayed for that required you to become someone steadier before they could be trusted into your hands. Not more worthy because my love was never earned by your perfection, but more rooted, more clear, more governed by peace than by panic, more anchored in me than in the applause, response, or understanding of other people. There was a time when you mistook movement for progress. When any open door felt like confirmation, when attention felt like love, when urgency felt like purpose. But through this season, I have been teaching you another way. I have been teaching you to slow down enough to discern. I have been teaching you that not everything available is a sign. Not everything attractive is safe. Not everything delayed is wrong. Not everything lost is worth recovering. Some exits were rescue. Some silence was shelter. Some disappointments were me keeping you from building a future on something that looked alive, but could not hold your destiny. And yes, I know there were moments when this felt cruel to you. Let us speak honestly. There were days when your heart said, if this is love, why does it ache like this? If you are near, why does everything feel so uncertain? If you are working, why does nothing make sense? I was not offended by those questions. I would rather hear your wounded honesty than your polished religious performance. I am not asking you to impress me with spiritual language. I am asking you to stay. Stay when you do not understand. Stay when your feelings tremble. Stay when the answer has not yet come. Stay near enough that I can finish what I began in you. Because the greatest danger was never simply your pain. It was the story fear was trying to write with your pain. Fear wanted you to conclude that silence meant absence. That delay meant disapproval. That loss meant you had been overlooked. That being unseen by people meant you were also unseen by heaven. But fear's a liar that loves unfinished chapters. It interprets every pause as abandonment and every shadow as finality. Yet I see what fear cannot see. I see the entire story. I see what your current sorrow is making room for. I see what your restraint prevented. I see what your hidden obedience protected. Do not underestimate the power of what you chose in secret. When you forgave instead of feeding bitterness, something broke that had been trying to root itself deeper in your bloodline. When you stayed humble while being misunderstood, you denied pride the right to become your shield. When you chose purity over compromise, you closed doors that could have invited confusion and destruction. When you brought me your tears instead of running to every counterfeit comfort within reach, you agreed with your future instead of your wound. In the unseen realm, your small obediences were not small at all. Many people imagine spiritual tests only in dramatic moments. They imagine the great battle is always public, obvious, loud. But some of the deepest examinations happen in quiet rooms, in late-night thoughts, in unanswered prayers, in private disappointments, in repeated chances to become resentful. That is where many lose themselves, not because they stop believing entirely, but because they slowly let pain rewrite their posture. They become harder, more suspicious, more self-protective, more addicted to control. But my child, though you stumbled and trembled and grew tired, you kept returning. Sometimes crawling, sometimes wordless, sometimes unable to feel anything at all, yet you still came back. That mattered. You keep waiting for me to say that your endurance changed something. So let me say it plainly now, it did. You are not the same person who entered that valley. Something in you has become quieter, but stronger, more tender, but less fragile, more aware, but less reactive. There are old things that do not fit you the way they once did. Old cravings, old fears, old compulsions toward explaining yourself, proving yourself, rushing yourself, overextending yourself, overreading every silence, overcarrying every burden. Those patterns are losing authority, and though the outer shift may seem gradual, the inner shift is already real. This is how new chapters often begin, not with noise, but with steadiness. Not with immediate spectacle, but with a different atmosphere in your soul. The first sign that a season has changed is often not the open door. It is the new kind of peace with which you face the hallway before the door opens. It is the slower heartbeat. It is the cleaner desire. It is the refusal to return to what once ruled you just because waiting feels uncomfortable. It is the grace to be still without collapsing. It is the growing ability to say, I do not yet see it, but I no longer believe my life is abandoned. My beloved child, let me speak to your weariness now. You have been carrying weights that do not belong to you. You have tried to solve outcomes that belong to my wisdom. You have tried to hold together futures that can only be secured by my hand. You have called this responsibility, but often it has been anxiety dressed as devotion. You have called it vigilance, but often it has been fear trying to keep control. And your exhaustion is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you have been operating in spaces reserved for me. There are burdens that fit my shoulders and will always wound yours. Your part is trust, obedience, patience, gratitude, and faithfulness in what I place before you today. My part is provision, guidance, protection, timing, and transformation. When you try to take my part, frustration multiplies. When you neglect your part, progress slows. But when you learn the rhythm of surrender, a different kind of rest begins to form inside you. Rest is not passivity. Rest is not giving up. Rest is movement without panic. It is effort without desperation. It is obedience without self-torment. It is peace in motion. It is the soul finally understanding that not everything depends on its striving. So breathe again. Loosen your grip. Let your shoulders come down. Let your mind stop rehearsing every possible disaster, as though worry could somehow protect you from pain. It cannot. It only teaches your spirit to live under the authority of imagined outcomes. I am calling you into a deeper posture now, not passive, not careless, not indifferent, but deeply surrendered, deeply anchored, deeply unwilling to let fear become the voice that interprets your life. You do not need all the details before you can rest. You need the assurance that I am still God here, and I am. You have also been asking me about prayer. Why keep speaking when the answer seems slow? Why keep coming when the room feels quiet? Why keep opening your heart when it feels as though heaven gives so little immediate feedback? Listen closely. Not one prayer has disappeared. Not one whisper has gone unnoticed. Every tear has a record. Every sigh has a place before me. Every late-night sentence that never reached human ears was heard fully by mine. The gap between your prayer and visible change is not emptiness. It is movement too intricate for your eyes to read in real time. Prayer was never meant to be performance. It was never about eloquence, vocabulary, or correct emotional tone. I do not respond to your polish. I respond to your nearness. Speak plainly to me. Speak honestly. Speak from the place that hurts. Speak from the place that hopes. Speak from the place that does not know what to say. I would rather receive a trembling truth than a rehearsed speech. And when no words come, stay anyway. Silence with me can still be communion. Tears with me can still be prayer. A weary exhale in my presence can still be worship. Do not measure the value of prayer only by immediate feeling. Some of the deepest work I do in you during prayer will not be recognized until much later. Peace roots quietly, wisdom settles gently, strength returns gradually, discernment sharpens in ways too subtle to announce themselves in a single moment. You may rise from prayer feeling that nothing happened, and yet, over time, you will notice that you are less fragile, less reactive, less easily captured by despair. That too is an answer. Not every answer comes as a changed circumstance. Some answers come as a changed soul capable of walking through the circumstance differently. And my word, my child, do not neglect it in this season. Scripture is not decoration. It is not tradition you casually visit when life becomes hard enough to scare you. It is bread, light, correction, refuge, weapon, and anchor. When you fill your mind with my truth, you leave less room for fear to write false conclusions. When you speak my promises over your life, you align your thoughts with what is higher than your current emotions. Faith is not pretending pain is absent. Faith is refusing to let pain have final authority. Faith looks directly at the wound while still believing the story is not finished. There are lies that have stayed too long in your inner world. Lies about your worth, lies about your future, lies about whether you are still chosen, lies about whether one hard season has defined the whole of your life, lies that say because the answer did not come quickly, you have somehow been passed over. Lies that say if people misunderstood you, then perhaps heaven has too. Lies that say your history disqualifies you, your wounds weaken you, your limitations reduce you, and your scars make you unusable. Those are not my words. I do not speak to my children that way. Your scars do not disgust me. They do not lessen your value. In my hands, they can become tenderness, wisdom, compassion, authority, and testimony. The places where you broke are not proof that I left. They are often the places where I began entering more deeply than before. You have wanted a life without cracks because cracks feel vulnerable. but I've often used those very openings to let more light in. Broken people who surrender become gentle with the brokenness of others. Wounded people who heal become safe for wounded hearts. There is a ministry hidden in the mercy you learn through pain. That is why I keep telling you that this chapter was not wasted. Even the tears you thought only marked loss are watering things you cannot yet see. Grief is not always sterile in my hands. Sorrow can become seed. The field you cried over may yet become the field where joy grows. The very places you thought would only ever remind you of what hurt may one day become reminders of what I restore. I am able to transform not only outcomes but meanings. I can take what once testified of defeat and turn it into a quiet testimony of redemption. Now let me speak to forgiveness, because some of you have carried pain for so long that it has begun to shape your reflexes. Forgiveness is not pretending the wound was small. It is not denying what happened. It is not giving immediate access to people who have proven unsafe. It is not calling evil good. Forgiveness is the holy refusal to let the injury keep renting space inside your spirit forever. It is the slow surrender of the poison before it becomes part of your bloodstream. It is the choice to release judgment into hands wiser than your own, so that peace can begin to return to you. Some departures in your life needed to happen. Not every ending deserves lifelong mourning. Not every person who walked away was qualified to walk with you forever. Some exits were me sparing you future harm you could not yet see. Some connections felt familiar but were draining what I was trying to build in you. Some people loved an earlier version of you, but would have resisted the healed version I am bringing forth. Release them with blessing. Do not drag bitterness into the next chapter. Hands clenched around the old cannot receive what is new. At the same time, do not assume all loss is permanent silence. I am working in relationships you cannot yet read clearly. Some hearts are softening. Some misunderstandings are being exposed for what they were. Some conversations are being prepared. Some divine alignments are approaching that will feel almost too timely to be coincidence. Pay attention to what I send in your next season. Not everyone coming toward you is a distraction. Some are answers. Some are pillars. Some are companions for an assignment you are only beginning to understand. Isolation is not your inheritance. The enemy loves to interpret your hidden season as proof that you must do everything alone. He whispers that no one understands you, that no one sees you, that no one can hold the weight of what you are carrying. But I am building community around you with more care than you know. Some people already in your life will become deeper than they have yet seemed. Others will arrive with a resonance your spirit recognizes before your mind understands why. Receive them slowly, wisely, prayerfully. You do not have to cling to everyone, but you also do not have to fear everyone. Discernment is not suspicion. It is clarity governed by peace. And let me speak to your family line, because there are patterns some of you have quietly feared repeated. Things you watched growing up, ways of coping that traveled from generation to generation. Fear, silence, anger, addiction, shame, emotional distance, chronic instability, constant lack, deep self-protection. You have wondered whether what marked those before you will inevitably mark you and those after you. Hear me, cycles can break. The story does not have to repeat. In me, inherited patterns lose their right to define the future. The line does not have to continue where grace has intervened. Some of what you endured was not only about you. That is part of why the season felt so weighty. You were standing in places where your choices had implications beyond the moment. Every time you returned to me instead of to destruction, something shifted. Every time you chose truth over denial, humility over pride, mercy over retaliation, faith over despair, you were not only surviving, you were interrupting. You were becoming a hinge point, Through surrendered hearts, I often end old patterns and begin new legacies. Do not despise the hidden cost of your obedience. It may bless more people than you will fully know in this life. I also need to speak to your body because some of you have carried stress so long that it now lives in your muscles. Your sleep, your appetite, your breath, your nervous system, your exhaustion. Your body has been keeping score for battles. Your mind thought it had hidden well. You learned how to function, how to smile, how to keep going, but underneath, strain was building. Bring that to me too. I do not only care about the spiritual parts of you. I form the whole of you. Speak life over your body. Steward it with compassion, not contempt. Rest is not weakness. Healing is not selfishness. Recovery is not failure. Some symptoms have roots deeper than medicine alone can explain. Fear has lived in your body like an unwanted tenant. Hypervigilance has trained your system to brace even when danger is not presently in the room. Shame has made you hostile toward your own weakness. But I am able to bring peace to every layer of you. Mind, emotions, body, spirit. This is not partial care. It is wholeness I am working toward. Let your body learn what safety feels like in my presence. Let your breathing become an act of trust. Let your sleep become a surrender. Let your weariness stop being a secret source of guilt. My child, your calling is also beginning to stir in ways you cannot quite name yet. That restlessness you have felt was not always dissatisfaction. Sometimes it was destiny moving beneath the surface before you had language for it. There is something I am drawing out of you that is not imitation, not performance, not borrowed from someone else's path. It is specific to your story, your scars, your tenderness, your history, your perspective, your endurance, and the lessons you learned in places you once wished you could escape. What I place inside a person is never random. There is an assignment shaped uniquely for the one carrying it. Do not assume calling always begins in public. Often it begins in burden, in the ache to comfort the hurting, because you know what silent pain feels like, in the desire to speak hope carefully, because shallow words once failed you, in the need to protect what is sacred because you understand how easily wounded hearts are mishandled, in the longing to tell the truth without spectacle, because you learned in your own life that the deepest things are often quiet. I am not merely preparing a future for you. I am preparing a voice, a presence, a stewardship, a way of carrying my heart into rooms you have not yet entered. And when the time comes, it will not only be your words that carry weight, it will be your atmosphere. The peace you learned in hidden battles will disarm chaos in places where you once would have felt intimidated. The mercy you received will shape how you speak to fragile people. The discernment you gain through waiting will help others avoid what once trapped you. The steadiness formed in your private wilderness will become visible responsibility you can finally carry without being consumed by it. This is why I did not rush the process. What I prepare must be able to last. Do not compare the pace of your story to people who were assigned a different road. Comparison always tempts the soul to misread its own life. It makes hidden work feel inferior to visible movement. It makes delay look like disfavor. It makes your becoming feel small beside someone else's breakthrough. But I am not writing identical stories. I am not mass-producing lives. The care I take with you is personal. The timing I choose for you is deliberate. And what I am shaping in you cannot be measured by the speed with which someone else appears to succeed. Trust the particularity of the path I designed for you. Some of you have been frustrated because you want certainty before obedience. But often clarity follows surrender, not the other way around. You want the whole blueprint. I usually give you the next faithful step. You want to feel ready. I ask you to trust me enough to move while still feeling small. You want instant understanding. I offer daily bread. This is not because I enjoy withholding. It is because dependence keeps the heart close. If I poured out the whole road at once, you might start trusting the map more than the guide. But I do not want you merely informed. I want you near. Nearness changes everything. A life close to me becomes less driven by noise. Worship stops being a scheduled event and becomes a posture. Gratitude begins reshaping the climate of your inner world. Anxiety loses some of its power to dominate. The soul starts learning how to live from communion rather than from constant reaction. Worship, my child, is not only what happens when music rises. Worship happens when your heart turns toward me in the middle of dishes, deadlines, traffic, fatigue, tears, uncertainty, and ordinary moments. Worship is the inward alignment that says, even here, you are still worthy, and I am still yours. That kind of worship changes the atmosphere around you. It does not always remove the storm immediately, but it keeps the storm from becoming your God. It teaches your spirit to remain rooted when circumstances argue against peace. It opens space inside you where miracles can take root. Not because worship manipulates me, but because worship clears out the inner clutter that fear had filled. Gratitude, reverence, trust, stillness, holy attention. These are the soils in which many breakthroughs begin quietly growing. Do not underestimate the power of turning your heart toward me consistently, even when no dramatic feeling arrives. Now hear me on timing, because this has been one of the deepest tensions in your heart. You thought by now certain things would be different. You imagined being further along, more secure, more settled, more understood, more healed, more visibly established. And because life did not unfold according to that internal timeline, disappointment became temptation. The temptation was not only to feel sad, it was to conclude something false about me, that I had neglected you, that I had allowed you to fall behind, that I had favored others over you. But my beloved child, you are not behind the life I have authored for you. There is a difference between being delayed from your preference and being late to your purpose. The first may happen often. The second does not happen under my hand. I am able to use detours, losses, pauses, interruptions, and long seasons of ambiguity without losing the thread of what I promised. You see fragments. I see the woven whole. You feel the ache of a single chapter. I know where the story is heading, and I tell you again, not one surrendered season is wasted. Not one tear offered to me is sterile. Not one act of faithfulness in obscurity disappears into nothingness. The truth is, many of the things you wanted earlier would not have met the version of you that is standing now. They would have met a soul still too frantic, too fragile, too hungry for external reassurance, too easily thrown by misunderstanding, too unhealed in certain places, too quick to equate open doors with approval. I do not say that to shame you, I say it to show you how kind my timing has been, even when it did not feel kind at the time. I was not withholding good. I was making sure good would arrive in a form you could receive without being undone by it. And yes, some of the most painful parts of the process were the moments when I did not intervene in them the way you expected. I let you feel the weight of unanswered questions. I allowed you to discover the weakness of supports you had leaned on too heavily. I let certain illusions fall apart. I exposed false peace, false confidence, false dependence on people, false certainty rooted in circumstances. It felt like stripping because in many ways it was. But I only remove what keeps the deeper work from breathing. I only shake what has made your trust too dependent on what was always temporary. When the shaking happens, two things are revealed: what was never stable to begin with, and what is more deeply rooted than you knew. Through this season, both have been exposed. Some things you thought would hold you did not. Some people you thought understood you did not stay. Some plans you assumed would surely work dissolved. But beneath all of that, a quieter truth remained. I remained. My presence was not always loud, but it was there. My hand was not always obvious, but it was there. My mercy was not always visible in the way you wished, but it was there. And that realization changes a person. It changes how you define safety. It changes what you chase. It changes what you grieve. It changes how quickly you speak, how deeply you listen, how carefully you give access to your inner world, how willingly you hand me the future instead of demanding certainty from it. You are becoming less available to chaos, less seduced by what dazzles, less intimidated by what delays, less desperate to force what should be received. This is not loss of passion. It is maturity. It is strength learning to kneel. It is desire learning how to wait without turning bitter. It is hope purified of entitlement, my beloved child. What comes next in your life must be met by that version of you. The quieter one, the truer one, the one who knows how to performing, the one who knows how to grieve without surrendering to despair, the one who knows how to obey without demanding applause, the one who has finally learned that being seen by me is weightier than being celebrated by a room full of people. That is the person emerging now. That is why I keep telling you that the chapter is shifting, because it is, not by accident, not by mood, by design. From here, some things will begin to open, some with obvious clarity, some slowly, some so gently you might miss them if you keep expecting thunder. Watch for the subtle signs too, the conversation that feels strangely timely, the new steadiness in your morning, the old trigger that no longer controls you the same way, the thought pattern that begins to lose its power, the opportunity that matches a prayer you thought had died, the courage to release what once held you, the desire to create, speak, serve, or rebuild where you once only knew how to survive. These too are signs of movement. Do not sabotage the new by dragging the old lens into it. When peace starts to return, fear may whisper that it cannot last. When blessing begins to form, old suspicion may ask whether loss is hiding behind it. When doors open, the memory of past disappointment may make you brace for collapse before joy has a chance to breathe. But I'm not asking you to re-enter old cycles. I am leading you into the purpose those cycles prepared you for. Do not call every good thing temporary just because pain once stayed a long time. Let healing have permission to feel unfamiliar before it feels natural. There will be moments when you wonder whether you are truly ready, and I will answer you this way. Readiness is not the absence of weakness. It is the presence of surrender. Readiness is not flawless confidence. It is teachability. It is humility. It is the willingness to walk with me slowly rather than rush ahead alone. It is the ability to carry both memory and hope without letting memory become prophecy. It is the quiet agreement that says, I may still be healing, but I no longer belong to the chapter that almost broke me. That is readiness enough for the next faithful step. Let me bless your mind now. I bless it with clarity where confusion has lingered, with peace where thought loops have stolen hours, with restraint where fear has exaggerated every uncertainty, with holy imagination where despair once painted only worst-case outcomes. I bless your thoughts to come into alignment with truth. I bless your attention to turn away from the lies that drain you. I bless the inner room of your mind to become less crowded, less frantic, less noisy, less hostile to rest. May the storm of overthinking soften. May mental exhaustion loosen its grip. May peace begin feeling possible again. Let me bless your emotions. I bless them with steadiness, with holy honesty, with resilience that does not deny pain, but is no longer ruled by it. I bless your heart with softness that is protected, not naive, with hope that is grounded, not shallow, with sorrow that moves, not stagnates, with joy that does not need perfect circumstances in order to breathe. I bless the places in you that have learned to brace for disappointment. I speak release over them. I bless the hidden corners where grief has stayed folded away for too long. May gentleness reach them. May healing find them. Let me bless your body. I bless it with rest, renewal, and the gradual return of strength. I bless your sleep to become less troubled. I bless your breathing to deepen. I bless your nervous system to learn safety in my presence. I bless the fatigue that has lingered, the heaviness you have hidden, the tension you carry in your shoulders, jaw, stomach, chest, and bones. I speak peace over the alarm that has been ringing inside you for too long. I bless your body not to be an enemy you fight, but a life you steward with compassion and wisdom. Let me bless your home, whether it feels full or quiet, tidy or chaotic, safe or still becoming safe. I bless it with my presence. I bless the rooms where you cried. I bless the table where you sat alone. I bless the bed where you turned through long nights. I bless the doorways through which both pain and mercy have entered. May your home become less like a place of bracing and more like a place of breathing. May peace settle there. May honest conversation increase there. May hidden strain be uncovered and healed there. May what enters that space carry less darkness and more light. Let me bless your relationships. I bless what is healthy to deepen. I bless what is unclear to come into truth. I bless what must end to end without poison. I bless what is approaching to arrive in right timing. I bless you with wisdom to discern between access and assignment, between attraction and alignment, between flattery and safety, between chemistry and covenant, between familiarity and peace. May you no longer chase what destabilizes you. May you no longer confuse inconsistency for passion. May you no longer beg from human hands what I alone can establish securely in your life. Let me bless your future, not with a false promise that no pain will ever come again, but with the assurance that pain will not own the whole story. I bless your future with direction, protection, provision, and courage. I bless the next chapter with clarity that grows as you walk. I bless the doors I am preparing with timing that fits the soul now becoming ready. I bless your calling with humility and fire, with depth and tenderness, with truth and compassion, with influence that does not need to shout in order to shift atmospheres. I bless what I have spoken over you to mature in its season. And now, my beloved child, receive this final truth deeply. You are not standing in the ruins of a wasted life. You are standing at the edge of a chapter that could only be entered by the person you became through the last one. The waiting did not erase you. It formed you. The silence did not discard you. It deepened you. The closed doors did not cancel your story. They prevented your story from opening before its time. The pain did not prove that I left. It became one of the places where I taught you how to find me, when no other comfort remained. So lift your head gently now, not in pride, quiet confidence. Straighten your shoulders, not because every question has been answered, but because you no longer need all the answers in order to remain near. Let old heaviness begin to fall from you like a garment that no longer fits. Let old panic lose its argument. Let old labels loosen their hold. You are not merely surviving anymore. You are being led into steadier ground. You are not circling the same wilderness forever. You are being brought through what once felt endless. You are not forgotten. You have been held more carefully than you knew. Walk with me into what comes next. Do not rush ahead. Do not drag the old fear with you, as if it deserves permanent residence in your future. Walk close, listen often, rest deeply, obey simply, speak truth over your life. Return to me when your heart trembles. Return to me when your heart rejoices. Return to me when you understand and when you do not. I am not asking you to become self-sufficient. I am inviting you into deeper dependence, the kind that feels like peace instead of panic, the kind that no longer mistakes hiddenness for abandonment. The page is turning, my child, not because you performed perfectly, not because you never doubted, not because you never grew tired, but because through all of it, you kept returning, you kept reaching, you kept bringing me the fragments instead of walking away forever. And that hidden faithfulness has weight. That unseen yes has consequence. That quiet endurance has prepared something in you that the next chapter will require. So do not despise where you have been. Honor what it formed. Bless what it taught. Release what it took. And step softly into what is opening now. I am with you in this beginning. I was with you in the valley, and I am with you at the threshold. I was with you in the silence, and I will be with you in the unfolding. I was with you when you thought nothing was changing, and I will be with you when change becomes undeniable. My love toward you has not thinned. My intention toward you has not weakened. My hand over your story has not slipped. Breathe, receive, believe again, not with perfect certainty, but with honest trust. The chapter is turning, and this time, peace will be one of the first signs.